as we see that over these years, there's been almost no gain in black household income, while white household income has increased, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6-fold. So that's a backdrop, right? That's a backdrop for the work that you're doing in schools. It's the backdrop that, schools have to be pushing against and making up for, because, money does make a difference. So we're dealing with, in the United States, a huge, well-established anatomy of inequality. It starts with poverty and segregation, which are increasingly joined together in schools. We have a growing number of schools that are more than 90% low income and more than 90% African American and Latinx in California. That creates a particular set of very intense needs that have to be dealt with. California is the most segregated state in the country. For Latino students, it is the third most segregated state in the country for black students. So we are not immune from what we often think about as the segregation that was true in southern states, and this is in the education system. So we have a lot of unpacking to do there.
Linda, I can't say enough. This is like America's education star right now. She is, by far, for many, many years now, been an advocate for equity and at every level, at the federal, the state level, and her work is so influential. Our schools were designed to get the results they get now. Perfect. If you're not satisfied with the results, you have to ask yourself what needs to change. Now, what we need to share is that all the evidence shows that going to college matters. That is, college graduates make significantly more on average than people without a college diploma. They not only make more money, they live longer, have better health outcomes. The idea that college is not worth it is not proven by facts. But if you come from a family no one's gone to college, a community where no one's gone to college, and keep in mind, only 30% of Americans have college degrees. In education, we know there are differences in how people learn, what pace they learn. So when we talk about creating systems that are more responsive, it starts with knowing who our students are, meeting them where they are, challenging, stimulating, supporting. Because unless we do that work, we're not going to see outcomes change. So we need a holistic strategy, and we need partners. And we need to challenge the biases that allow our schools to continue to produce the same kind of results.
So it could just be me, but what I will tell you is that there is intense and incredible resistance. Everybody not trying to do what we're trying to do this morning and every day we get up and go to work. And that is not to dissuade you. It's not to bog or to bring you down. It's just to keep it real. We gotta know what we're up against. And our opponent, hence us being here yet again, making a plan yet again for 3 rather simple problems. Our opponent is formidable. But thank God, so are we. I am incredibly honored to be the superintendent of Berkeley Unified School District, the home of revolution, the home of revolutionaries. I'm incredibly honored to be in this room of revolutionaries, whether you be from Berkeley or not. But I am super, super inspired by the possibility of us actually pulling it off this time. The babies are waiting. The families are waiting.
The executive order identifies 12 policy goals that the White House Initiative on Black Americans focuses on to advance educational excellence and equity for Black students, Black families, and Black communities. Based upon the civil rights data collection, in the 2021-22 school year, 41% of Black students missed 10 or more percent of school in a given year. The department has student engagement and attendance, TA centers, collections of policies, resource documents, and funding supports to see to it that we're addressing our community head on. We also recognize the equity challenges that Black students experience in school diversity, in post-secondary credentials, school enrollment, real-world application opportunities, etc. And we have a lot of signature programs. But what we do is show opportunities that are possible, and we captivate opportunities to give communities that may not have a voice.
We also have held this position for some time, the largest enrollment of Black and African American students in the entire California State University system. Out of all 23 institutions, no one serves more Black students than we do. But as we all know, access is not always synonymous with success, and just because you have increasing graduation rates doesn't mean there's not equity gaps. And the report identified 13 recommendations that had to be implemented to improve Black student success in the system. 13 recommendations reminiscent of the 13th Amendment. We came up with not 3 interventions, not 5 interventions, not 10 interventions, but one thing that we were gonna do and one thing that we were gonna do well, and that was to establish a Black Honors College. So the Black Honors College is an institution within the institution. It's specifically designed to serve students who are interested in Black history, life, and culture. They know that they can come to a place like Sacramento State so that when they're going off to other states that are banning critical race theory and African American studies and DEI, that they can see Sacramento State as the North Star of the West, where they can come and they can know that they're not just going to be put on the brochure or on the website, but they're going to come and actually have an experience that's rooted in them.
No matter how we slice it, using the most recently available federal data, Black students were being excluded and punished more than white students, than students generally, than non-Black students, no matter how we slice it. See, here's what it looks like right now. When we look at all students, Black students are 3.9 times more likely to be experiencing suspension generally. Among boys, 3.5 times. Among girls, 5 times. Students with disabilities, 2.8 times. No matter which subpopulation you look at, Black students are being suspended more. These districts had these low discipline rates, but they also served Black students. The first thing I found was the school districts that had the lowest discipline rates almost exclusively did not serve Black students. So I said, where are the Black student serving districts with low discipline rates? So I identified these districts. And then I talked to their superintendents, superintendent staff, the administrative suite, and then folks in the principal offices at various schools. What I found was they made big down payments and then steady investments. What does that mean? When they did training in restorative practices, everybody got training in restorative practices. The summer was about learning how to use these practices, practicing, getting coaching, learning how to shift the cultural mindset so that that practice becomes an easier practice to leverage when situations are tricky, right? Big down payments, but then steady investments. So it wasn't just we hired someone, they came in that summer and we're done now. It was every time new teachers came in, they got real training as part of their induction. Every time teachers were having a hard time, there were professional learning communities that were designed to help them continue to develop and work this muscle of being restorative when it's hard.
So I'm honored and humbled to be on this journey with the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators, a group of educational leaders that is committed to identifying and addressing the critical issues in education through our public policy relative to status and performance of African American students and other students of color, not only in California, but our expansion nationally. Our commitment to the community runs deep, and empowering through education is one of our core beliefs. Our innovative, equity-focused approaches provides the necessary comprehensive support to underserved students with the goal of closing the achievement gaps for them while experiencing the intersectional challenges of marginalization, poverty, and other barriers. What my commitment to you is to support CASA to continue to experience the manifestation of what we were founded to do. We are the best educational organization for people of color in this country.
Let's go!
Is that you have to actively work to show you care and appreciate and understand the teacher's experience. You got to acknowledge the difficulty of the work, and you got to provide some teacher-informed supports and practices. Ask them, what do you need? And then if you can do it, do it. because people need that. And then intentionally check in with your staff who appear to be struggling, right? This happened to me, right? And you could have people who are absolutely amazing at their work and then they start to kind of fall off or struggle. That doesn't just happen. It's similar with kids, right? We see kids who are acting out, stressed out. You don't just like kick them out. You ask them, what's happening? What's going on? Do the same thing for your students or for your teachers. It's important.
You can let the work of what journalism does for our society shine light on the injustices to make change. We'll have to continue to do that and continue to work together to make sure that we can see progress happening. The only way we'll be able to do that is through your hard work, through the work that we do through media, journalism, to be able to see change.
So the obstacles that we face today are very much so real obstacles, but they're obstacles that we can get through because what our ancestors went through, very, that was serious. That was serious, having to learn a language and be stripped of your culture and everything else that you know. Being put in that position is tough. The work we're gonna do today, the work we'll do now, yes, they're distractions, but we have to have an I can do attitude to make sure that we realize what Brown Board of Education is trying to do.
But access plus equity meant justice. And that's what we were looking for in 1954 was just justice. That's not asking a lot because America had always promised justice. So as we begin thinking about our 5-year plan, we've developed 3 pathways to make that happen. The first pathway is just a blueprint, and it's a 7-step blueprint that will be posted on the council website that you can take as your blueprint, not your finished product, but your blueprint to get you started in crafting your 5-year plan. The first step is identifying your own history. And if you look at Bakersfield, California versus Pasadena, California, the histories are different, aren't they? Which means your plans are going to be somewhat different. Keep in mind that the Brown decision was not about school integration. It was about educational opportunity, as you heard from Dr. Noguera this morning. It was about fairness, as you heard from Dr. Linda Darling Hammond. And it was about justice. And that's all we ask for is justice. And the Bible says, let justice roll down like a river and righteousness like the ever-flowing stream. But it's justice. And Maya Angelou said courage is the most important of all the virtues because without courage, you cannot practice any other virtue. What we're embarking on will take courage. But courage happens when we work together. And that's where we get the greatest amount of our courage. If you'll all raise your arms like you're being robbed, please. And don't insult the robber with your arms down here. Raise your arms as high as you can, please. And now bring your arms down across the shoulder of the person seated next to you. And as you look around the room, you notice everyone is smiling. And that's because we do our best work when we're working together. And touch turns on the brain.